with a prayer before we begin. The Lord be with you. Gracious God, I give thanks for this group gathered here, for the opportunity to have a thriving and growing ministry for youth, and the opportunity to have new people on staff, new vision, new direction. We give thanks for Caroline Devitt, for the gift that she is, the wisdom and joy that she brings to our staff, and the opportunity for all of us to grow in grace and faith together. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, so Caroline Devitt is going to tell us her story and share. So I'm going to do no more other than say that she started on staff here September 7th. Her first Sunday was last week, which started with a kickoff slip and slide kickball game. Everyone who played bounces well and was not injured, thanks be to God. It was all outdoors and we had a marvelous group show up. So we are glad you are here. And Caroline, it's all yours.
Thank you. Can I share my screen?
You should be able to,
A
yes.
little PowerPoint. Okay. Can we see that?
Yes, we can all see it.
Fantastic.
And if you make it full slide, that little projector thing down in the bottom right corner, perfect.
Sorry. There we go. Okay. Hi. I'm Caroline. I am really excited to be here. I'm the new interim director of youth ministries, and yeah, God really I switched gears, and I was not expecting to do youth ministry for a long time, but he just really pulled my heart to St. John's, and I just couldn't be happier to be here. So moving right along, where I'm from Sarasota, Siesta Key, #1 beach in the United States. I was born and raised in Sarasota, so I've been in Florida pretty much my whole life. And yeah, it's beautiful. It's right on the water, about an hour south of Tampa, if you're familiar with that area. Big beach, big, it's kind of turning into a big city. It used to just be a little beach town, but it's kind of growing, as you can see. This is the fam. So I have 2 older brothers. They are 14 months to the day older than me. They're twins. That's Reed holding the dog, and that's Graham next to him. Those are my parents, Marcia and Steve, and then my sister Elizabeth is next to me. That's our dog Tucker, and Toby is no longer with us, but we love him in the photo. So I grew up in the Episcopal Church, cradle Episcopalian. Both of my uncles are Episcopal priests. So we got deep roots in the Episcopal Church. Actually, my uncle Wayne went to seminary with Abby, so that's a fun little connection there. So yeah, deep roots in the Episcopal Church, grew up in a really faithful household. My parents are really awesome and really instilled a lot of really great insight about who Jesus is and who God is to me and my siblings from really, and I'm really thankful for that. This is Crouton. This is my dog. It felt important that he had a slide. Yeah, this is him. I adopted him during the pandemic. I've had him about a year now. Hobbies. I really love to read. I love calligraphy. I really like to letter. I love to travel. I've been to 4 out of the 7 continents so far. Very exciting. I really like to stay active. Orange Theory, I like to run, all that fun stuff. Just a little bit about me. Redeemer. So I grew up at Church of the Redeemer in Sarasota. It's a downtown parish, very similar to St. John's. And big high church, big liturgy, smells and bells and whistles and all of that stuff. And when I was younger, I didn't really have such an appreciation for it. But kind of as I grew up, and we'll get into that. But as I grew up, I really had sort of like a reverence to high church, and that's where I really see God in worship now. Um, Redeemer is also a really active and growing parish with a really strong youth ministry program. And I was fortunate enough to have really great youth leaders as I was coming up. We had quite a few transitions happen when I was in the youth program, just youth ministers kind of transitioning onto either ordained ministry or lay ministry in a different capacity. So I kind of saw a lot of different leadership positions. We had some youth ministers who were ordained priests. We had some who were lay people. So I saw a lot of different perspectives in terms of that as well. Um, Choir and acolyting, I was very active in the choir. Specifically, when I was in high school, I was a scholarship paid section leader in the choir. So that was kind of my first experience on staff of a church. And acolyting, I really love to acolyte, even though choir didn't really allow me to do it as often as I wanted to when I was in high school. I would still subdeacon sometimes, and I would be crucifer. And the way that we did training was a bit different. There were different levels. So you started torch, crucifer, first and second server, and then thurifer. I really like to thurifer. That's my thing. But yeah, so these are my friends. And I'm still very close with all of the people in these photos. So it's cool that that connection that I made when I was growing up has translated to being an adult too. We went on mission trips. I wanted to include that photo on the, I guess it's the right. We go back to the same place in the Dominican Republic every year called San Marcos. It's in the Puerto Plata region. But we go back each year, so we build those relationships and continue to build that same community. And so you can see in that picture that I have braces on, that was my first mission trip. And that was in 2014. Well, my first mission trip to the Dominican Republic. We went on the middle schoolers go on mission trips within the country. And then in the DR, we go to the DR when you're in high school. So my first mission trip was 2014. And then the last time I went, I was a chaperone, and I think that was 2019. So it was right before the pandemic. So that first picture, that's Yamyeli. She was 6 in that first photo, and in that last photo, she was 12. So it's really cool that we've gotten to kind of watch these kids grow up. And so there's a mix between some light construction work and painting and all that fun stuff. And then we always run a VBS as well during the week that we're there. So, and those were really formative for me. I really am excited about the connection with Ecuador at St. John's, and Caroline Allen has already been such an asset to me. So I'm really excited to work with her and allowing the youth to have that same experience that I had on. So it's something that's to me because I really experienced humility and grace, and just really experienced God tangibly on those trips. And so I'm excited for our kids to experience that as well in Ecuador. Let's see. St. Mike's. So another part of my upbringing was going to the St. Michael's conference. It's a conference in Hartford, Connecticut, and it's an Episcopal Anglican conference for young people from ages 13 to 21. So you have a really wide range of different people that are growing up in the same faith tradition as you, which is really cool. We have a lot of fun, but there's also a huge every morning there's morning prayer, there's mass, and then there's evensong in the evenings, and then sprinkled in there are some classes and there's really fun activities. As you can see, I'm in a cassock and I'm pretending to be my youth minister at the time. So yeah, that really instilled in me the importance of the daily office in my daily life. Um, that's when I kind of started doing morning and evening prayer on a daily basis, and um, I made some of my best friends and really took on my faith as my own. And again, that liturgy aspect was really hammered into my little brain. I really love St. Mike's, and it was a really important part of my upbringing. I went to UF. These are my friends. So I started at UF in 2017. I just graduated in May. I loved my time there. I learned so much, and I'm really grateful for the community that I built while I was there. And yeah, I just learned a lot about ministry on a lot of different ends. We'll get into that, I think. I have slides about that. Yes, trying new things. So when I first got to UF, I started exploring different denominations and different ways of worshiping. And I ended up getting really involved with a non-denominational campus ministry. And I ended up being on their executive board for a little bit. And as the leadership changed, some conversations about what their statement of faith looked like didn't exactly align with how I have experienced God. And so specifically conversations surrounding our LGBTQIA plus brothers and sisters. So I kind of had to take a step back, and that's eventually how I found Chapel, which Chapel of the Incarnation is a little mission church in Gainesville. It's right across the street from the University of Florida campus. And I ended up finding Chapel my sophomore year with my best friend, Kat. She's the redhead on the left of me in that photo on the left. So we ended up finding Chapel together. And when I first got there, we had about 7 people coming on a regular basis. And then right before the pandemic, we had about 50 people attending Sunday services on a regular basis. And that's all that was all the grace of God that growth happened. So found it my sophomore year, got really plugged in immediately. I served on the vestry as the recruitment chair for a year, and then I ended up getting elected as the senior warden and president of our student organization, Episcogators. They kind of go hand in hand, but so I ended up being president and senior warden, and really learned a lot about what the ins and outs are of running a church, and looking at budgeting and looking at the things that you don't really think about in terms of personal ministry, like the logistical side of things. I learned a lot about that, working with clergy and working with the diocese. All of them. Those are my best friends, like the people on the left. I made my best friends at Chapel, and yeah, I'm really thankful that I found it and that God led me there. So yeah, so right after my junior year of college, right in the middle of my junior year, COVID hit. And so I went home. I was supposed to have an internship in New York City that summer, but it ended up being canceled because of COVID. And so I was home trying to figure out life, and I got a call from my priest, Chris, who's in that little Zoom box there, and my aunt, Jackie, who's the bottom left of the Zoom box. So they called me and they were like, hey, we don't know how we're going to do VBS. It needs to be completely virtual. Can you help us? And my internship was canceled. Didn't have anything going on. So I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. So we ended up doing a completely virtual VBS, and VBS at Redeemer is really important because that's how we plug in a lot of families and how we get a lot of people to start coming to Redeemer is through VBS. That pipeline, there we have like a spreadsheet, and it's the most insane thing I've ever seen. But there's such a pipeline between membership and being involved in VBS. So yeah, we did a completely virtual VBS, and I filmed, edited, directed 3 hours of content for like an entire 7-day time period. So it was a big production. And I'm an amateur at best at all of those things, but yeah, I we did it, and it was great. And we turned this like big in-person VBS thing into a virtual VBS. And by the end of my internship or time that summer, the church asked me to stay on staff as the communications person. So I was the communications person at Redeemer for my entire senior year of college, and until I came to St. John's. So graduation happened. I had a plan, and then God really changed my heart in a lot of ways. So at one point I thought I was going to be moving to San Francisco to work in big tech, to do a communications position there. And that didn't feel right. I have a friend who refers to it as the holy gut, but my holy gut did not feel right. And so I decided to take a step back and just to see where God was leading me. I started really considering a service year for a little bit, and was ready to go on that. It felt good. And as I was packing my car, I had this overwhelming feeling that it was not right. The holy gut again. And then that same day, I ended up getting 3 phone calls about 3 different youth ministry positions that people wanted me to apply to. And so as I've been telling the youth that story, message received. The message was received that youth ministry was something that I was feeling really drawn to. And within those phone calls, I got a phone call from our youth director at Redeemer, Jackie Overton, who asked me to serve as her intern for the summer. And so I decided to do that, see what God was doing in my heart during that time. And it ended up being awesome. So we went on 2 mission trips. We went to Asheville, North Carolina, and New Orleans, Louisiana. And I helped plan those and facilitate those. Also helped plan the Sunday school curriculum, helped communicate with parents, all of the fun things that go into youth ministry, I helped with. And I found so much joy in it. I even like the really mundane things, just like making spreadsheets and like doing the stuff that no one wants to do. There was such a joy about it because it was for the kids. And I really loved it and ended up feeling like this was the direction that the Lord was pulling me into, to serve in youth ministry in some capacity. And that's when all the phone calls came, all that fun stuff. So now I'm here in St. John's. Be here. I was really drawn to St. John's specifically because of the conversations that I had with the youth during my interview. They are what brought me here, they and obviously the Lord. But it was my conversations with them that really drew me to St. John's. And I'm really excited that I'm here and that I get to work with them. And I get to work with their parents. The parent involvement has been so awesome so far. And I'm just really impressed with the youth, and I'm really impressed with how plugged in they are with everything. And I can't wait to help foster and love them through this transition through middle and high school, because it is quite a transition, and just help foster that growth and allow them to be leaders, and just to love them through it. So that's a little bit about me. Yeah.
Thank you, Caroline. We could throw some questions. If you have some questions, put them in the chat and I'll try to facilitate that. Caroline does have a youth luncheon right after this, so I'm looking for the food order. So if I leave, it's not for something she said. It's
And whilst I can do this part, I'm so sorry. It was like the one instruction you gave me was to make sure that folks, if you have any questions for Caroline, put it in the chat, friends. Put it in the chat. I failed you. Sorry, buddy.
hey, you're fine.
Forgiveness is good. What questions might you have for her? Please do put them in the chat. I'll start with a question since we're waiting for folks to type. It's a good one. I would love, Caroline, one of my favorite questions is thinking about who's been influential in your faith, who has been a saint, not necessarily perfect, but someone who's been influential, specifically a person in your faith journey, and maybe talking about them a little bit.
Sure. So the first person that comes to mind is my youth minister growing up, Chris Wood. Chris was youth minister at Redeemer for 7 years before he went to seminary. And so he was there from, I think when I was in 5th grade to when I was entering into 9th grade, maybe 4th grade. I don't know. He was there for 7 years as youth minister. So that, we have a really good relationship still. I mean, I called him yesterday just to like bounce ideas off of him. And then my senior year of college, I mean, not college, of high school, he ended up coming back to Redeemer after seminary as youth minister again. So I kind of got him in middle and high school, which was great. And he ended up finding out about Redeemer through St. Michael's Conference. He went to the conference as a conferee and grew up there. And so that we kind of just like have like that connection to Chris and to St. Mike's and to common liturgy and all of that fun stuff. So yeah, that's like the first person that comes to mind. He is really awesome and is a fantastic priest still at Redeemer. Kind of watching his growth while I've grown up has been really cool. Watching him go from youth minister to now the assistant rector at Redeemer is really cool, and really cool that like we get to be friends now as adults. So yeah, that's first person that comes to mind.
I love it. And those years, that 4th through 9th grade, are so pivotal for seeking identity and who God is, both as a middle schooler trying to figure out who you are, and then also does God really like that, or do I need to be something else? And the gift of that steadfastness of friendship and at the same time supporting. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions in the chat? You can ask anything, like, Caroline, what is your favorite food?
Oh gosh.
Uh-oh. It was supposed to be an easy softball.
Probably
Friends, of course, like friends, right?
you
That's what I
go.
say.
actually the cream of mushroom soup this past week,
Ooh, stellar.
the best.
Did she sing soprano or alto from Betsy?
Both.
She's Mariah Carey. She can hit it
I
all.
can do either. This has not worked for a while, so I'm probably more on the alto range at this point in my life, but we could train up if you need me.
She's figured out how to acolyte and sing in the choir. We'll figure out how she can sing in the choir and be youth director. First priority is youth.
I just appreciate her breadth of experience in the church and her appreciation for so many things. The offices, and importance of a personal growth, as well as acolyte, youth ministry, and music. And I think that's wonderful, and it will encourage our youth maybe to pursue that as well, just by your example. So welcome to our team.
Thank you.
So, I'm so excited you're here, Caroline. Okay, I'm looking at myself.
Caroline, I saw a picture of Australia, Sydney particularly. The Opera House is hard to miss. And I know, do you want to say why you were in Australia?
Sure, yeah. So I studied abroad in Australia. I was there for almost 2 months. It was a summer study abroad, and it was through UF. And so UF professors traveled with us to Sydney. So we spent the majority of our time in Sydney, and then we spent the last week in Cairns, which like Great Barrier Reef area. So I got to scuba dive in the Great Barrier Reef. So that was very cool. Yeah, I loved it. I made some of my best friends in college on that trip, other than chapel. That was the other trip that was really formative. And there was actually an Anglican church that I got really plugged into while I was there. It was like a block away from where we were staying, like our host community. And so I ended up getting really involved with like their Bible studies, and like would like bro out with the priests, and like I got like a beer with the priest one time just to like talk about life and Anglo-Catholic nonsense, and it was cool. But yeah, I loved being there. I want to go back really badly. Once COVID is tamped down, that's like first trip I'm booking for sure.
Sure, wait.
I got a question in a direct question sent to me for you, and I'm going to rephrase it, but how you maybe how you've navigated your faith, and maybe going into school when or academically when there are questions, science questions and faith, and how you help kids kind of, or your suggestions for high schoolers possibly as they confront material that maybe challenges their faith, how you've worked through that personally, and also kind of suggestions you'll have for the kids as they kind of encounter struggles.
Yeah.
I think that's a good paraphrase.
Yeah. I think, oh, hold on, my Zoom went weird. Yeah, so I think I really enjoyed science growing up, because even though like it's very like matter of fact, right? Like there's like evidence of things. And I think if anything, science just kind of like confirms how cool God is, like creation. Like, of course, all of these cool things happened, and God made them happen. So like, who's to say that like, yes, like all of these things did happen, and our world exists now as it is, but that was like God behind it. And I think it just kind of confirms how cool and like intricate everything is, and how perfectly God thought through everything to make it so. I don't know if that's like what you're asking, but that's kind of how I went about dealing with like evolution and all of those fun little things that come up in science class in high school.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wallace, I had 3 questions. Do you have a question?
You can go for it. I'm scared to ask anything because I'm looking for the lunch.
It's looking for lunch.
I'm looking out the window just to see if they're arriving.
Caroline, this is what we often ask this on interview questions of seasons of the church. You know your seasons of the church here. You have been steeped in this tradition. Is there a specific season that just makes you happy, and why might that be in the church?
I have a lot of seasons that make me really happy. I think after Easter is probably my favorite, just because Lent is so sad. And so it's such a nice, like, yes, bring back my alleluias. Like the flowers are so pretty. Like that's probably my favorite season. My mom is I didn't talk about this, but my mom is the directoress of the altar guild at my home parish. And so I have such an appreciation for all of the stuff that goes into that. And the flowers after Easter and on Easter are so pretty. And I love going in there and just like putting the arrangements together with her and her committee. That's one of my favorite things to do. So.
Awesome. It is. I agree. I think every season has its own joy, and you're ready for the next season when you get to it, such as we're ready for Advent once we get there. Pentecost season, ordinary time can end. I love it. Any other questions for Caroline? Things she might have left out that you were dying to know?
When you, I know you had a big gathering with the kids last week. We all outside, everybody just making sure Don's ordering for lunch, and it was outside, and I was hosing them down, so we were all safe. But Caroline, when you've heard stuff from the students, what have you heard? Where's the energy and excitement at St. John's in the youth ministry arena? What do kids love, and what are they excited about doing? Have you picked up on in the first week?
Yeah, so I've gotten coffee and after school treats with several students. And then we did kind of a brainstorming activity at the first kickoff event. And a lot of feedback that I've gotten is people are excited to do mission trips. That's a big one. People are really excited about Universal. It's another big one. But people are also just really excited about doing like low-key programming during the week. That's been a big thing that I've gotten a lot of feedback on, is that people just want like small group time and Bible study time and time to just open up in smaller groups. And I think that's a lot less intimidating to be open and be vulnerable in smaller settings, and to have those hard conversations about faith and life and what our lives look like as Christians, especially in middle and high school. One of the questions that I asked them was, do you have anything about God or the church or Christianity or anything along those lines that you want to talk more about or have questions about? And they had such good questions. I'm so excited to unpack that with them, because like those are the questions that you should be asking at youth group, and you should feel like comfortable to have that space and to ask those things in that setting. That's you can hang out with your friends wherever, but you can have those really like interesting and deep conversations at youth group and feel good and safe in that setting. So I'm really excited to do that with them. That's been big feedback I've gotten, is just to do smaller stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And seeing Wallace's profile picture up, I think that means lunch is arriving. And Caroline is continuing those sort of question and answer times with the youth commission at St. John's. Many of you may not have children in the program right now, but it is an opportunity to continue. For those you are here and can share the information about, oh, well, I listened to Caroline's talk and would love for you to get to know Caroline better. As she said, she's meeting with youth, in small groups to get to know them and help them get to know her as they continue to plan the fall. And she is just a text, a phone call, an email away to finding out the answers to your questions. If you're interested in supporting the program in any shape or form or have questions for her, we are thrilled she's here. That youth commission is youth and parent driven, representing most of the grades, if not all of them, and helping to keep our youth ministry connected to the real desires of youth ministry. Caroline, my Australia squirrel that I chased has provoked one question, which is what you studied in Sydney. It was a summer session. Was it communications related, or was it?
Yeah, it was. I didn't say what I majored in. I majored in public relations, and my minor was in nonprofit management. So yeah, it was just PR classes. It was through the journalism and communications school at UF. So those professors came to Sydney with us. It was awesome.
Awesome. She also has a great group of friends who sit with her. Cannon's Cannon was nearby. And a great group of FSU friends who have started to come to church as Caroline has started here too. The gift of growing all our ministries and being present. So we're grateful for that. And we're going to let you go just a little bit early because we know you've got the next thing coming. So again, Caroline, thank you. Thank you all for showing up this morning. And she's on campus during the week. She's here on Sundays, helping with getting acolytes in the right spot at the right time, and is present. We are so thankful you're part of the team, and we're so thankful for each of you being here, because youth ministry doesn't exist without each person in the parish caring for our youth and children. Thank you. Thank you. Next week is the 26th. And our coffee talk is the Rector Search Committee. They are coming to present the process. I knew it'd come to me. Remember to fill out your survey if you haven't already done it. And they will be present to talk about where they are in the process. Lori Messer and Martin Proctor will be leading that conversation. It is Father Wallace's final Sunday here at St. John's. We're all gnashing our teeth and weeping. For those of you who are present on campus, we will actually have lemonade and cookies in Eve's garden as a farewell for him. We'll do the majority of our farewelling in the service during the announcements. So if you're not ready or able to come to church that day, that's okay. And we will still have a forum at 11:15 by Zoom. Thank you all. See you soon. Appreciate you.